Okay, hi everybody. This is Audrey Alamo, and I'm here with my new friend Rob Shaver. And we're just going to start by you telling
Sure.
give us a little context of who you are and what your diagnosis was.
Hey everybody, I'm Rob Shaver, and in 2004, I was diagnosed with Ewing sarcoma, which is a juvenile bone cancer, soft tissue bone cancer. I was diagnosed at the stage 4 level. It had metastasized to the area around my left lung, in my back, both outside of both lungs, and a spot on my kidneys. I went through chemotherapy and radiation, and it was a pretty difficult prognosis, but was able to go in remission then after chemotherapy, radiation, and surgery. It came back again in 2011 in my spine. It broke my spine. And I went through chemo and radiation again in 2011 and 2012, and am now in remission, cancer-free, for 3 years and 9 months this time.
Wow. And when we got home from your concert, my husband said you don't have a scapula.
I don't. Yeah, so it started with juvenile bone cancers. There are like 3 main bone areas that it starts in, and one of them is up here in the shoulder blade. So mine started in the shoulder blade. And I went undiagnosed for a while because it was difficult to figure out what was happening, but it actually ate the bone away, the cancer did. And then, like I said, it spread around the lung, where the tumor I had around my lung was about as big as a pancake around my left lung. So yeah, I don't have a scapula, so my arm only goes, if you guys can't see it, only this high. There you go, about that tall. But it's great. I'm glad to be scapuloless. It's everything. It's
Scapuloless.
It's doable, and yeah.
Okay.
But no scapula, no shoulder blade for me. Every once in a while, someone will pat me on the back, and it'll just hit my ribs.
Yeah. And to give a little context, can you talk about what you do for a living and how I met you?
Yeah. So when I was diagnosed, I was actually in graduate school, in professional school, to be a pharmacist. I had already had a couple of undergraduate degrees, and had gone to graduate school to get my doctorate in pharmacy, to be a pharmacist. And I was actually diagnosed my second year in pharmacy school the first time. After going in remission, I went back to school again, had to start all the way back over in graduate school, and then I got diagnosed again during the 4th year of school, actually. But I did finish. I was able to finish. I got my PharmD. So I am a pharmacist, but I haven't worked as a pharmacist since I've been in remission this time. It's a lot of variables in the equation, and maybe someday, if things continue well health-wise, I'll do that again. But in the meantime, the thing that inspired me and how I met you met Audrey is through music. The last time I got sick, which was kind of an unexpected, I was in remission for 5 years, but then I had a recurrence. Music is something that's always been a big part of what I've done as well, and I wanted to be able to share that, and wanted to be able to release that for me and share that with other people. And I have a friend here in town who's a voice teacher and a really great musician and singer, and we play together. I've been able to do some other things musically, and she's a cancer survivor. She had leukemia as a child. So we're trying to make it work that we can share music with folks, and a collective experience through that genre, and being able to connect with other cancer survivors, or anybody for that matter that's going through stuff. But we definitely relate to that community intimately, and we would love to be able to play music all the time for cancer patients and cancer survivors and everybody. So it's great.
Yeah.
That's what we're working on now.
That was a powerful night.
Thank you.
I want to ask you this before I forget, dovetailing from your pharmaceutical background. AC is a chemotherapy that a lot of people get and are afraid of.
Sure.
And I love how you spoke to that. So
Yeah.
could you talk about it? Also nicknamed the Red Devil.
Red Devil, adriamycin, doxorubicin. Yeah, and I took the most that we give people. I think with regards to any of those kinds of things is learning to be able to have a good perspective on why we're taking the drug and what we're doing it for. And as a pharmacist, I looked at it really objectively to be like, these are the positive outcomes when someone does this, when they take these protocols. and not having fear as much as seeing why we do it and knowing the good that can come from taking it. I know for me at least, even knowing quite a lot about the drugs, I pretended it was cherry cola when I saw the color of it in the bag up there. So I think it was as much realizing that these are things that we do to help people get better, and putting my body and my mind in that state of being, and I'm trying to just be as ready to receive it and motivated that it's going to do what it needs to do, rather than fear motivation. Hopefully the outcomes, there's a reason we're doing this and it's going to make me better.
Yeah. So can you tell us the story of the diagnosis? Was it a phone call? Was it an office?
For me, it was kind of a gradual process. I had some really difficult symptoms for some time. And I knew I was getting sick, and I knew something was wrong, and it was a process of going to the doctors and figuring out what was happening. For me, at least by that point, I had come to the reality that my body wasn't well. And I had a tentative diagnosis, and then I had a stage 4 diagnosis, where the prognosis was what the prognosis was, without us getting into statistics.
But it wasn't good.
No, it wasn't good. It wasn't good. The it was what it was. I think by that point I was so physically sick that I wasn't surprised as much as anything. I was actually trying to exercise when I got the phone call. I was doing my best to go exercise, and I got the phone call, and they said it's this cell type, and you've got to come in and do CTs, and we need to do a PET scan, and we need to see all that stuff. I think the entire process for me is what was revealing. I think I probably went through the stages of denial and anger and desperation and all that stuff during that leading up process. To me, when I found out what it was, I realized that this is the circumstance I'm dealing with now. So actually I was trying to exercise, but at that point I knew that my body was not healthy.
Yeah. And what were your first steps? A lot of people are like, pick up the phone, I don't know what to do.
Yeah, obviously, and I've had to do it a couple of times with recurrences and whatnot. And obviously, you call your family, I think, or the people that that care about you. I did, because you want to help them. You want to help them with their fears and their questions and all that stuff as well. So that was the first thing I thought of, probably. And then for me, I come back to certain anchors in my own life that I tell myself, regardless of circumstance, to hold on to ways of thinking, ways of viewing the world that I go back to over and over again, and I do it every day that I live in order to find peace and contentment and perspective in that day. So even in the midst of those difficult circumstances, where it's the most difficult to be able to do that, for a long time now I've reminded myself to do it then.
Would you want to share any of those anchors?
Sure. And I think going through anything like that obviously causes a lot of introspection. And I realized, being a sick person, someone in that circumstance, that the ways I defined myself, the ways I thought of myself, changed a little bit. We always talk about having perspective. And obviously going through that gives you a certain perspective. But I remember laying in the bed, or when your body is getting weaker and stuff, and thinking all the things I'd ever been good at. And now I'm not good at any of them. All the ways I defined myself, or had looked, or abilities you had been able to have, or people thought you had, and you don't have those anymore, yet you're still you. The voice in your head is still you. So having that realization that those other things didn't define me, but what defined me was my intent. That in the midst of everything, the voice in my head that's talking to me right now that only I can hear, and yours as well, that was the real me. And if I became like someone who wanted that voice to make the best of this moment, to live beautifully now, to love other people, to not be attached to all these labels and all the noise that keeps us from seeing the beauty in things. If I could discard so much noise, which just naturally happens to everyone, and not attach to these abilities or this and some things that are fairly superficial, but if I could concentrate on that voice in the midst of all those circumstances, that I'm going to make the best of this situation, that I love other people, that I'm trying to be compassionate, that I'm going to try to find the magic and the beauty in the day. That's all I can ever do. So I do it in those moments. And I try to do it all the time. Even when things are good and you're able to do those things again, you keep those things in perspective, knowing that ultimately you're that voice inside of you. And for me, I have anchors with that voice, just that I'm grateful and thankful, and I have the ability now to choose how to deal with this circumstance and just live with love and compassion. Because when we go through stuff, like anybody that goes through stuff, obviously we relate super closely with other people that had cancer. But when you go through things difficult in your life, you're able to empathize with anybody that goes through anything.
Right.
We feel connected in a way of understanding that we all go through stuff, and it makes us more compassionate, more empathic to everyone, regardless of circumstance.
Sure. Yeah, I always had a sense of that since my first diagnosis, and it's only been in the last few months that I have truly realized I may die tomorrow or 30 years from now, and like the evil question in cancer is what if this happens? And I have such peace just living in this moment right now, being able to connect with you and you tell your story, and just loving and kindness and compassion and this moment, this 24 hours is like all I got. So it's about living well.
Exactly, and I think that's exactly right. I said people would ask, try to delineate it down to. I said my food tasted better going through it, just as a way of saying that you're just more aware. You're just more aware. I'm not playing the projection game, and it's not that those things that we try to pursue, like music is a wonderful thing, but it's not anything I'm attached to define me in any way. It's something to share with others.
Right.
It's something to be able to connect with. It's just the medium for doing it.
Yeah.
But you definitely learned that there's so much noise and there's so much stuff out there that keeps us from hearing the music. And the music is always playing. Regardless of how difficult your circumstance is, the music is always playing. Sometimes it's harder to hear than others.
Right.
And when you're sitting in that chemo chair or you're in that inpatient deal, it's harder to hear. I know that. But it's there.
It is.
And being rooted into the now and knowing that what you can control is choosing. Choosing to love, choosing to find beauty, choosing to be humble and compassionate, using it as a tool to have the food taste better, using it as a tool to better relate to a collective circumstance that is being a human being ultimately.
Yeah, absolutely.
But at present moment awareness, there's so many good tools and books out there with regards to that stuff. Yeah, that's great.
So let's back up for a little bit and talk to the people who are having challenges right now. What were some of your greatest maybe physical challenges or even emotional challenges?
Sure. I definitely had a lot of bone cancer is super painful for one thing. It really hurts. So obviously I've dealt with a lot of physical pain off and on over the years, which once again is another way to empathize with people that go through physical pain in any way, and obviously psychological pain as well, any of those kinds of things. So I can relate specifically to how I used to say I feel like half a human being. When people would ask you to describe how you feel physically, I'd be like, I feel like half a person, half a human to some degree, and what it's like to go through chemotherapy and radiation and have all of the blood transfusions or anything else that goes into that. But I've had a lot of physical challenges. I would say this, with regards to me and just my own experience with it, I kind of had a personal mantra to try to win the day. Every day, just try to win the day. So I tried to do something for myself physically or psychologically, knowing the stuff that I needed to read or something I needed to try to do physically to know at the end of the day I gave great effort. And that's all I could do. That if I die tomorrow, I know that I gave the effort that I felt like I could give. So I had a little personal mantra to try to win the day. And some days it would be more than other days. But every day I tried. I definitely tried. But I know there are people that go through many circumstances in life. And I've been through those things physically and psychologically.
Could we show you a picture?
Oh, sure. Oh, that'd be awesome. Here you go.
I was so surprised to see this. Let's see if this works. Look at that. Oh my goodness. You'd never recognize him.
But like so many things, like your strength is made perfect in weakness.
Yeah.
And a lot of asceticism and stuff. We go through so much stuff to teach us lessons. We suffer enough till we realize we don't have to suffer. So I would say just choose the things that work for everyone to read, and affirmations. Reach out to other people. Obviously, one of the great tools is living in the present moment and knowing that right now you can decide in this moment to
Yeah.
live as humbly and beautifully and thoughtfully as you can.
Yeah.
And know that we love you and care about you, everybody.
Yeah, yeah. Would you say that you have, how have you changed from your
Oh, yeah.
before and after?
I think the biggest thing for me was that self-definition. I think like so many things I was attached to certain ideas of self, and then once those things were gone I realized I was still me. And for the rest of my life I will always be aware of that voice inside of me.
Yeah.
And realize that for it to be in the best place it needs to be, it needs to genuinely live in the present moment.
Yeah.
And care about other people and discard stuff that is just noise.
Yeah.
So definitely a different perspective
Yeah.
with regards to just the way I try to interact with other people. And then I think ultimately using it as a tool to when I see you, I see me, and interacting with a collective group of people just in general with
Yeah.
love and humility and compassion. I would say the game is almost over. I would say originally everybody's kind of playing the game of like, who am I and all this kind of stuff, and now that game is gone for me. I just try to be love
Yeah,
and compassion.
Absolutely.
Always. So it's definitely changed to some degree.
Uh-huh. Yeah, at first I thought, oh, this has really changed me for the positive. But what I think now is it's made me who I really am.
Right, well said.
You
Well
know?
said. Well said. We kind of discard these other things that for a while we thought seemed important, but they're not. I mean,
Yeah, yeah. So, have your relationships changed? Do
Yeah.
people come in and out of your life, or?
yeah, definitely. I think that definitely happens. And I think one of the hard things with people going through it is finding motivation and some of those things when you get through it. And obviously there's the fear of recurrence and PTSD, which I will say to everyone, I've had those same kinds of things. Like, I am a pharmacist, but I haven't gone back to working in a pharmacy or in a hospital environment. So I really empathize with those kinds of circumstances. Yeah, relationships have changed. I think for the better. I think everyone knows that I care about them, and I hope they know that I love them and stuff. But different motivations for sure. I'm probably less social in a lot of ways, and as much as I love my music and sharing that, I don't have the same energy and some of that stuff. I would love to be able to do it, but I don't have the same drive in some ways. But hopefully everyone knows that's in my circle that I care about them.
Yeah.
And love them, and love everyone for that matter.
Yeah. Well, we're rounding towards the end, and I'm just going to put the camera right on you, and that would be on me. And if you want to speak any words of encouragement or any advice, or not so much advice, but anything to finish.
Well, first of all, I want you to know that I think about you and everybody that goes through cancer and the caregivers and everyone involved, and I want you to know that I love you, and that I'm sending all of the prayers and good thoughts and vibes to everyone in the collective community, and I want you to know that that we all love you and we all care, and everyone and people are trying to help in so many ways, and if there's anything anybody needs, I'll take the guitar and come to your hospital room and play for you, or to your house if you want someone to decorate your Christmas tree or Thanksgiving or anything that needs to be done, because it's one of the great experiences of my life to see all of us go through this stuff and realize that we can rely on each other regardless of circumstance, regardless of gender or race or anything like that. At the end of the day, we're just a lot of people, getting through life as well as we can and trying to enjoy it and love each other. So anything you guys would ever need, hang in there as best you can, and I know it's not easy, but you can do it, and I love you.
Thank you. Thank you. You're beautiful.